Sorry, brother. Love hurts.
I am curious, how long had you been like thinking about making a movie or directing a movie?
Oh gosh, I mean, I've been in business for about 25 years. Like I said, I started out as a stunt performer, kind of made my way up to second unit director, but I didn't really think about directing until maybe like when we're shooting Deadpool 2. Kelly McCormick was like talking to me and she was like, I think you should start thinking about the next phase of your career. Like you should start thinking about directing. And that's how that idea kind of popped in my head. And then she was giving me a lot of scripts, and then this script came up, and I just loved it.
You have done. I looked at your resume. It's pretty crazy. So when I looked, and you were second unit director on Deadpool 2, Obi-Wan, Violent Night, just to name a few. When you think about those projects, what do you think would surprise people to learn about being like a second unit director on projects like that?
Again, when you're going as a second unit director, you're going into a world where the rules are kind of made for you, right? But you have to operate within those rules. So everything I did as a second unit director was kind of guided by what the rules that are given to me. But the same processes I use for that, it kind of applied to for me going into main unit directing.
Is there any good story from those shoots? Anything you want to share for fans? Because those are all things that people really enjoy.
The top of my head, it's hard to say. I mean, a lot of those were fun because, like, for example, let's say Violent Night. We shot this barn scene, and it was a huge scene, but we didn't have enough space or time, so we shot it at the same time as main unit, right? Which is literally next door to us. So in between takes, like we're just whispering and tiptoeing, and I have the people kind of tiptoe walk it, like there's stuff, and then as soon as they yelled cut, we went action. So we would just be like on tandem like crazy, and I'm really happy about how that turned out because that was really crazy in terms of like how to execute how we're shooting.
So you did the stunts, or you coordinated the fights on Fall Guy.
Yes, I was one of the fight coordinators.
Yeah,
yes.
I love that movie. What can you say about some of the fights you worked on? What was your memories of that, if you don't mind?
Well, I kind of came into that project in kind of the middle of it. So, the fights are like anything I go with David. The fights are super fun. Like the sets are huge, and the spectacle is so fun. But for me, it was being around kind of those like bigger stunt sequences in there, and being kind of watching it how it laid out. And how they figured it out and how they executed it on the day, that was like kind of mind blowing to me because it wasn't a fight oriented movie per se. There's action all over, but some of the bigger stunts like the car rolls and the high falls and the jumps, those were very fun to be part of.
Yeah, David. I spoke to David about it, and he got to do so many cool things in that film.
Yeah.
For anyone who's not seen The Fall Guy, for the love of God, push play. Last thing before we get into the movie.
Yeah.
You worked on the Avengers.
Yes.
And coordinated some fights. Talk a little bit about your time working with Joss and making that movie.
I mean, at the time too, it wasn't like they're trying to start the shared universe. You didn't know this thing was going to be a hit or not when first Avengers came. So for me as a fanboy growing up watching, reading comics, to see all those characters together was amazing, right? So I had so much fun on that set. And the best part was, because I was the fight coordinator, they would give me like, all the props of the weapons. Like the Thor's hammer, the Captain America's shield, Hawkeye's bow. I had Loki's staff, but they would give me the prop versions of it so I can practice with it. And I would carry this huge bag with all that stuff. But I was almost like, this is like a treasure trove.
Yes.
So I'm like carrying it around. I go, this is amazing, right? So I was just fanboying out a lot on that movie.
Jumping into the film. So you see the shooting schedule in front of you.
Yeah.
You know you don't have enough time. You don't know. You know it's going to be a challenge. What was the thing that you were like most nervous about being able to pull off with the time and the limitations that were in front of you?
There's a lot. I mean, the scope of I give shout out to my my action team. Led by Sean Astin. When we design these action sequences or we're conceptualizing it, I knew they're big, right? They're big and they take time to shoot. So I just had to trust that for every time I didn't finish something, like the guys would come and clean it up. So it's always like the train's always moving.
Sure.
And we're just hoping that we can get the setups done in time. It's always just time constraints. But I was lucky because there's a multitude of factors. It's like we were prepared that way, and I had a cast that can pretty much do anything I asked of them physically.
Key is he's so good in the action. When did you realize, okay, wait, we're going to be able to do like longer takes. We're going to be able to like show him and not have to do cutaways. Like when did you feel like, oh yeah?
Oh, I knew already. I knew when we were doing the training, like he'd be able to do all this stuff. Like now, in terms of the longer takes, a lot of it too is like it's hard to do like masters, and then go in for coverage sometimes because we don't have the time for it. So we just made sure we knew what we were going to shoot from what angle, how many moves from this angle, boom, move to another one, right? So, but also too, I needed someone that can like stay in that mode of the choreography the whole time, and he can do it without even batting an eyelash.
Marshawn Lynch is in this, and unlike his previous roles, he does a lot of action and a lot of dialogue. This is like a big role for him.
Yeah.
So same sort of question. Yeah. When did you realize, oh wait, he'll be able to pull this off?
I actually knew, like, I didn't get to see Marshawn until almost like 2 days before shooting. But I knew physically he's like, as an athlete, he's amazing. Yeah. But the thing I think he's just a natural actor. He's very funny. He's very charming. And because he is such a high level athlete, he takes direction, like physical direction, very well. So if you tell him to do something, he can almost do it to a T, right? And I think he knows his body so well. He has very good like judgment and timing, his distance, and knowing how to pull his strength back.
Totally. I still think that if I was in that scene and Marshawn's coming at me and getting ready to throw a punch, I will run the other way.
Well, that's what Key was like scared. Like you could see it, right? He's like nervous at some points. Like, oh man, if this guy hits me, he's gone. Yep. But I think that's what makes the fights exciting because you can kind of feel that. You can kind of feel the danger of it. Right?
Completely. So I'm fascinated by the editing process because obviously it's where it all comes together. So you do your first friends and family screening.
Yeah.
What did you learn and how did you change the movie based on that?
Well, you just, a lot of those things you just learn like what works or not. If the tone is working, what the audience is laughing at or what they're responding to. And then you just see what they respond to and you just want to make sure that keeps going, right? I was fortunate to have like great notes from everyone. And it's like all super helpful because I know at the end of the day it's for the best of the movie, right? So you just got to look and sit in there and go, okay, what works? What's the audience reacting to? And then that's how I kind of made your choices.
Sure. Did you make any like significant changes, or was it more like just tweaking scenes?
I wouldn't say like there is some significant changes in terms of some plot points, but it didn't really change the essence of the story. So as long as it doesn't change the essence of the story, moving things around or taking things out is not as important.
I laughed when I saw the Mortal Kombat video game. Is it tough to? I'm curious. Like, do you have to get the permission to put? So, and A, why did you want the Mortal Kombat game? And B, how tough was it to get?
Well, I don't know how tough it was to get, but of course, I wanted like it. I grew up in that time. That's like the time I grew up in. I was like, you play video games, you read comics, I watch animes, I watch martial art movies. So, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are a big part of my childhood, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, okay. So because I got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
There are times in this movie where the violence is turned to like 11. It's like, pardon my language, fucking crazy. And then other times it's a little more tame.
Yeah.
A, did you have any battles with the MPAA over the R rating?
No, I don't recall any battles at all with them. But what I was trying to do was, the fights are an emotion, like it's like a pathway, like his mindset throughout the movie. So that's why in the beginning of the movie, he's a little bit more playful and elusive. And then even the way it's shot, everything's more like steady and smooth, right? But as the movie progresses and his mindset's going back to that old Marvin character, it starts getting handheld, a little bit more visceral, more gritty. So we made a conscious effort to kind of show that emotional journey through the fights.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's two pretty brutal kills
Mm-hmm.
in the movie that
Right.
caused the audience to like
Yes.
react. What was it like watching with an audience for the first time and hearing their reaction? Because last
Yeah.
night people reacted.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to subvert expectations, right? And I like shocking the audience and getting a good reaction out of them. So I think those moments that you're talking about elicited the response I wanted to kind of get from them.
Oh, and it works.
Yeah.
100%. It even anyway, I was cackling and also reacting.
Yeah.
I'll say it like that.
Okay.
So one of the other things I'm curious about is the tone. What was it like? Did you know going in? Because there are times where it's really serious, and there's other times where it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, that's the same part of the editing process too. You're watching where it's like, okay, does it get too heavy at times or too melodramatic? What works the best, right? So we're like, okay, let's keep it at everyone loves the fun. They love the fun. So we're like, let's keep it fun. But again, I think there's a lot of things. Your story changes throughout the whole process of filmmaking. Like you make a movie during prep, you make the movie during a different movie during shooting, and then you make entirely different movie in post. So all these things kind of happened organically in terms of like what the tone and how the movie was. But I always knew the movie was going to be fast and fun.
Did you have I'm always fascinated by like longer cuts. The movie's like 90 minutes. Did you have a cut that was a lot longer, or was it always in your mind like, oh, it's going to be about a 90-minute movie?
Yeah, I mean, I do have longer cuts for sure on, especially for some action pieces, but it wasn't that much longer. I think the stuff we cut out needed to be cut out, but yeah, I just always wanted kind of a fun, fast, like the movie just keeps going. We just wanted that's the vibe we were trying to get.
Talk a little bit about the action set pieces and where and when, like there. I guess talk a little bit about what you wanted to accomplish with some of the action sequences. And as someone who has coordinated stunts, has done second unit, and now you are in control, was there like a fight sequence that you've been saving that you're like, I wanted, you know what I mean? Like, how did you figure out what you wanted Key to do in these sequences?
Well, I mean, a lot of stuff I talk over with my stunt team. And when I was making this movie, it's really an homage to the 80s Hong Kong movies I grew up watching. So that vibe was always in there, right? I grew up watching a lot of Shaw Brothers movies, Golden Harvest. So you see a lot of those influences throughout the fight scenes. So when I was doing it, I just tried to make sure I knew what he can do. So I wanted to make sure whoever he was fighting in different scenes, there's a style that complemented his style of fighting, right? So the first one really is about trying to escape and then be quiet, right? And you just present these circumstances and how he gets through these circumstances, right?
Sure. I think that there was a lot of laughter in the theater, and a lot, you know what I mean? My last thing for you, because I'm about to be out of time.
Okay.
You've gotten your taste for directing.
Yes.
Are you looking at other scripts, or David and Kelly being like, so what else are you thinking?
No, I mean, I'm trying to get through this thing right now, but I'm in like I've been reading a lot of different scripts and trying to decide what's next for me. So hopefully I see something that resonates, and hopefully I get to work on something that's just as fun as this one.
On that note, sir, I really do hope it is a huge hit, and congratulations on making your first film.